Hey Sunny Solution fans, wanted to get on here tonight and share with you on how to make dry shampoo. So if you're watching this live, make sure you give me some hearts and likes. If you're watching on the replay, do a hashtag replay. And so tonight, one of the reasons why I wanted to share this dry shampoo with you is we oftentimes overwash our hair and then we wonder why it'll get greasy up here. Well, every time that you wash your hair, it'll stimulate all your glands on your head, and so it'll produce more oil, because as we shampoo and condition, it'll strip the oil from our scalp. So if you can stretch out how many times that you wash your hair per week instead of washing every single day, and use a dry shampoo until your hair can adjust, your scalp will eventually adjust to how much oil that it makes. And so as that happens over time, you won't feel the need to wash your hair because it won't be so oily. So a couple of things. This is a really simple recipe. So you use arrowroot powder. I do buy it in bulk, but you can buy it at the grocery store, just in the baking section. And then for coloring, there's different options. This recipe calls for cocoa powder, and I really seriously just have some Hershey's cocoa powder. You could use cacao powder or whatever brand that you want. And then I've recycled an old jar, and I don't even remember what was in this jar, but I just washed it out. And so the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of arrowroot powder. So I'll just get that out here and scoop it in. So if you don't have very dark hair, you could, like if you have really, really blonde hair, you could just use the arrowroot powder. Some people like to put cinnamon or nutmeg powder in for a little bit of coloring. Now, this isn't that much powder, so it's kind of a good way to experiment. So there's just 3 tablespoons of the arrowroot powder. You could use cornstarch if you wanted. I prefer the arrowroot powder. Just because in the past I've had some corn sensitivity, so I would rather not use that. So in this recipe, if you have dark hair, you can use the cocoa powder and 2 to 3 tablespoons. So I would go less is more. And then for lighter colored hair is, let me see, 1 to 2 teaspoons. So I chose a half a teaspoon because my hair is fairly light. And I am going to be using it mostly in the roots. So my roots are a little bit darker. So I chose to just do a half a teaspoon of the cocoa powder. And then this way, if I want it darker, I can make it darker. The other thing is I've only put 3 tablespoons of arrowroot powder in here. So if I find it's a little too dark, then I can obviously just add some more arrowroot powder to it. The biggest thing is you don't want your powder to be so light that when you put it on, it looks like you've dusted yourself, you know, like the old wig people back in the early days. So you don't want to have that dusted look. So this has turned out pretty good here. It's just a real light color. If I wanted to darken that up, I certainly could put a little bit more in. And so, like, you could try a day of using it, and then if you thought, that's a little too light, you could add more cocoa powder to it. And then the next step is 5 drops of essential oil. So keep in mind, if you do end up adding extra arrowroot powder or extra cocoa, you could throw in a little bit more essential oil. But 5 drops isn't very much. So these oils right here that I have in front of me, lavender, and cedarwood, peppermint, and tea tree or rosemary, or tea tree or melaleuca, and then I have rosemary here. So I'm gonna put in a couple of drops of rosemary. There's just, okay, 1, I'm to the bottom of my bottle, so I have to shake it a little bit more, and 2, it kind of came out splattered. And then a couple drops of lavender, Some people don't like lavender. I love lavender and I like rosemary both. The guys might like the cedarwood smell. So a couple things about the essential oils. I have a couple of notes here, but lavender is, there's been a lot of studies with lavender to show how it helps the hair follicle. So it'll help thicken and strengthen the hair. And then also it's really good for stress. So there's lots of studies on how lavender can lower your cortisol levels. Rosemary is also good for hair growth and thickening, and it will help a dry scalp, and also helps your body prevent split, or your hair to be no split ends. And then the tea tree or melaleuca is good to cleanse the scalp. It's a good lice repellent. So if you've got young children, that seems to be kind of a hot topic in a lot of school settings. So if you can use some dry shampoo on those locks with some tea tree oil, you might have a good prevention plan there. And it's also good for itchy scalp as well. And then the cedarwood, the one that the guys like, is kind of a woodsy smell. That one is also good for hair growth. And let me see, what else does it do? Oh, it stimulates the hair follicle and increases the circulation of the scalp. And then peppermint is very similar. And I like to add rosemary, peppermint, and cedarwood right to my shampoo. So I do that. So I've got my oils dropped in here now. So I'm just gonna stir those all the way through. And you could do this in a different container. I just decided I didn't want to dirty another container. I would just mix it in here. This is a really wide mouth container. So I've got it all mixed together. And then to store it, I just put the lid back on top. So it's fairly airtight. But when you want to use it, you can use an old makeup brush and you just dab it in. And then actually I like to take the lid, so you can see I've got it here, and just tap out all the excess so that you don't have a big wad. And then you'll go right down your part and you can just kind of let it sit. And it says to let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes. Now, if you feel like your whole scalp is extra oily as it's adjusting to less hair washing, you can split it into sections and just dab a tiny bit into each part. You let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes, and then you'll just take your brush and you'll brush through it. Some people like to do this at night before they go to bed, and then they just get up and they're ready to go. Other people want to do it in the morning. So you can do it either way. And this will help your hair and your scalp adjust to not washing it so often. The other thing that I want to encourage you, doTERRA does have a shampoo and conditioner set. And so if you haven't tried the shampoo and conditioner, you might want to try it. It is designed for hair health and it's toxin free. A lot of shampoos and conditioners have parabens. They have phthalates, which are fragrances, and all of these can disrupt the endocrine system. So your hormonal system is toxic to the liver also. So as many quote unquote clean products we can use for our personal care, the healthier we're going to be in the long term. And these homemade remedies are so easy to do, and they save you a lot of money. So you can spend your money on more important things like your foundational products, like your supplements and your vitamins and your essential oils. So with that, let me know if you try this and how it worked out for you. And don't be afraid to experiment to get the right color that you want. And also experiment with the right amount that you're going to put into your hair to get that look that you want. And eventually that scalp will adjust to less hair washing, and your hair will be healthier in the long run, less blow drying time and less iron time. So if you're watching on the replay, do a hashtag replay and give me some comments about things you've learned. And also feel free to share this video to others that might help. So have a great night. Bye-bye.